Hey, what's up everyone? My name is Massacre, and today we're going to answer a question that many people have had since the mid-90s and that few have been brave enough to answer, and that question is, can you beat Pokemon Red with only one Weedle? A single Weedle, one Weedle. Because of the horribly frustrating nature of this run, I decided to break it apart into episodes. There's essentially no way I can give you guys a full glimpse of how painful this challenge is without the video being hours long. So without further ado, welcome to episode 1 of Can You Beat Pokemon Red with Only One Weedle. Now normally when I do challenge runs, there's a specific set of rules that I follow, and this run's going to be a bit different because we're going to allow items in battle. As you'll see during the run, I don't use healing items too much, but sometimes it would just take far too much grinding or too much RNG luck where a simple potion could help us move on. The only other rule we have for this run is we can only use a single Weedle in battle. Other Pokemon can be used for HMs and moves outside of battle like Dig. No glitches or exploits are allowed besides using the Universal Pokemon Randomizer to get Weedle as the starting Pokemon. Now, before we get into the run, let's talk about Weedle's stats for a second and what makes it so freaking awesome. I've looked at Weedle's stats in a few different ways. First, I looked at its absolute max stats, and if you scroll all the way down to number 151, you will find Weedle. For those of you that need a reminder, there's only 151 Pokemon in Gen 1, so we're using the absolute worst Pokemon in the whole game. Well, technically, Weedle is tied with Caterpie as the worst, but that's not as dramatic. Now when we look at Weedle's base stats, there's very little to be excited about. We have a base of 40 HP, 35 attack, 30 defense, 20 special, and 50 speed. All of Weedle's stats are in the bottom third of all of Gen 1 Pokemon. I will say though that the 50 speed isn't horrible, but as we progress through the game and face more evolved Pokemon, it's really not going to be enough. As for special, 20 base ties Weedle with Magikarp and Caterpie as the worst in all of Gen 1. Now for Weedle's moveset, we start with Poison Sting and String Shot, and if we make it to the end of the game, we will also have just Poison Sting and String Shot. Poison Sting is 15 base power, 100% accuracy, which is nice, and a 30% chance to inflict poison. This makes Poison Sting the second weakest move in all of Gen 1 next to Constrict, which honestly shouldn't even exist. There are other moves in the game that only have 15 power, but they are moves that can hit multiple times like Wrap and Barrage. Now for our second move, String Shot, it's going to be almost completely useless the entire run. All it does is lower speed, and that helps us basically zero. Now with all of that out of the way, let's start the run. I named my rival Cheeks with a Z because it's cool. I replaced Bulbasaur with Weedle so that the rival would choose Charmander and make me even more miserable. Now since we are using Weedle, I decided to reset a few times to get a good Weedle. And after a few resets, we got a Weedle that had all max stats besides attack. Attack can range from 8 to 10, and this one was at 9, so I decided to go with it. The first rival fight goes fine since Charmander doesn't know much yet, it doesn't even have Ember, and as long as you poison him, you should be fine. Now we head up to Viridian to get Oak's Parcel. We're going to want to fight as much as we can to level up. That's easier said than done, however. My first wild Pokemon battle against a level 3 Pidgey sets the tone. Gust is a quarter of our HP, and we get close to knocking it out, but eventually we lose. I think this is the first time I've ever had to reset back to our mom's house instead of a Pokemon Center. I was actually a little nervous that this would cause some sort of glitch or issue to happen. After Mom heals us up, our next Pokemon battle is against a Rattata, and it goes pretty well. We are still extremely weak, but since we have no real risk of losing money, I'm simply going to keep attempting battles, and if I faint, we don't really lose anything, and clearly we need to level up. Now there's plenty of grinding in this episode, so I'm going to spare you that grind and we're going to skip ahead to Viridian Forest. When we head up there, we're at level 7. The first bug catcher battle goes pretty well. He has a Weedle and a Caterpie, nothing too exciting here. Keep in mind though that we can't inflict poison on Weedle because it's a poison type as well, and this is something that's going to come up throughout the run with various Pokemon. But also remember that this works both ways, so we also can't be poisoned. They do a good job at lowering my speed, but we level up to level 8 and head on to the next bug trainer. We attempt the next bug trainer and run into our first big issue, which is power points. We only have 35 for Poison Sting, and we use a ton of them on every Pokemon we fight. Once we get to Kakuna, who can't get poisoned, we run into another issue, which is Harden. Kakuna is going to keep using Harden to raise his defense, which essentially lowers my attack down to 1 damage point. Not only does this battle take forever, but it also burns most of our power points, leaving us with only 2 for the last Weedle. Obviously that's not going to be enough, so I wait until our Weedle faints and we come back with full power points. The second attempt goes much better. We level up after the first Weedle. It did a lot of damage, but Kakuna can't hurt us. I'm sure I've sped up this battle a bit because there's only so much I can say about using the same move over and over against a Pokemon not attacking and buffing defense. The last Weedle though was pretty clutch from our Weedle. We knocked him out on our last power point, and maybe this is a sign of things to come. We heal up before heading to the very last bug catcher. Not much to say here, he only has one Weedle, and if it attacked every turn it could knock us out, but it doesn't, so we survive, hit level 10, and off to Pewter City for Brock's gym. And by Brock's gym, I mean the Pokemon Center. Let's be real here, if you've played Pokemon Red or Blue, you know Brock can be a bit of a brick wall for most of the Pokemon you would normally have access to at this point in the game. I'm gonna have to grind, but I wouldn't be doing this video justice if I didn't test my Weedle out. I took a stab at just the trainer in Brock's gym and it went poorly. Extremely poorly. There's no amount of luck that even gives us a chance, and he has two Pokemon, not just the level 11 Diglett. Obviously, we need to grind more. I start grinding in Viridian Forest, and then I remembered that there's still the rival battle west of Viridian City that we could at least try. I head over there, hit level 11 on the way, and heal up before attempting the battle. His level 9 Pidgey sand attacks us into oblivion, and although we could knock it out relatively quickly, we can barely hit it. It takes a few turns, we do eventually knock it out, but only with a sliver of HP left. At least we got some experience points before Charmander knocks us out. I tried again after healing up, but this time we don't even get past the Pidgey. Sand attack is just brutal. We already do barely any damage unless we inflict poison, but to do that we need to actually hit the Pokemon and survive long enough for it to faint. At this point, it's time to grind a little bit more, but I have an idea. I'm gonna show some more rival attempts in the background, but we're at a point where money doesn't really matter a whole lot. I don't have much, we don't have much need for it, so I can keep battling trainers even if I lose. As long as I can routinely knock out one of their Pokemon, I can gain experience quicker than running around Viridian Forest. Our rival's Pidgey, for instance, gives us 105 experience. In Viridian Forest, you can occasionally find a level 6 Kakuna, which will give you 60 experience, but also burns most of our power points, and we would have to heal right after. Eventually the stars aligned and we won the battle, but this strategy is going to be an important one for continuing to level up. We don't have a chance against Brock for quite some time, but we can use this strategy against the junior trainer in his gym. We finally beat the rival and level up to 14. Time to see how we stack up against that junior trainer in Brock's gym. I'm really hoping we can at least defeat Diglett consistently so we can use it to grind, but even at level 14 it's not even close. I tried a second time just to be sure and it was just as bad. The only option we have now is to grind in Viridian Forest. I grind to level 15 and try the junior trainer again. We still lose, but it's a lot closer now. Diglett is usually around a third or a quarter HP before he knocks us out. Hopefully at level 16 we can at least defeat the Diglett. After another grinding session, we give it a shot at level 16. This time we finally defeat the Diglett. As the footage rolls of the Diglett training session, I want to talk about a couple things. Of course, this is an edited video, so when I say I'm going to grind up a level, it's starting to take some serious real-world time. I can't begin to describe how boring this is. What is a quick edit to you guys is probably a half hour of chipping away at level 5 Pokemon for 50 experience or less. But more importantly, let's talk about Brock. I've been using the junior trainer as sort of a benchmark, so to speak. If we can't beat him, then there's no way we can beat Brock, but let's discuss why. The first problem with Brock is his Geodude. Geodude's level 12 and knows Defense Curl and Tackle. Geodude already has high defense and it's going to raise it even higher throughout the battle. That's issue 1. Now issue 2 is that Poison Sting is a poison type move, so it's not very effective against Geodude. And then lastly, and probably the biggest issue, is that while we can inflict poison on both Geodude and Onix, for some unknown reason Brock has 5 full heals per Pokemon. 5 for Geodude, 5 for Onix. So not only do we have to inflict poison to deal enough damage to his Pokemon, we also have to inflict it 6 times each for it to stick. Let's break this down a little further. I have 35 power points with Poison Sting. I have to inflict poison 12 total times throughout the battle, which only happens 30% of the time we use Poison Sting. I also have to survive long enough for all of that to happen. Oh, and not to mention Onix knows Tackle, Bite, and Screech. Bite isn't too scary because we have String Shot to waste those turns, so it won't do any damage, but Screech lowers our defense, making Onix's tackles even stronger. To bring all of this full circle, we were level 16 16 when we were able to defeat one level 11 Diglett. Okay, now that I'm off my soapbox, we finally defeated the junior trainer at level 19. I went to Viridian again to top off our level at 20 and begin attempts at Brock. Now, I want you to watch this battle closely because something I didn't know could happen happened. Maybe this isn't new to you, but it was new to me. So Geodude is using Tackle, which is doing a bit, and Defense Curl. After a couple Defense Curls, look what happens. All of a sudden, my Poison Stings are missing. I thought it was a glitch, I reset a few times, I even checked to see if somehow I messed up the Universal Pokemon Randomizer to somehow make Defense Curl boost Evasion. I don't know, I was at a loss. So I took to Google and learned something horrifying. Well, horrifying in literally only this one circumstance, because I have no idea where else in the game this would even happen. So essentially what's happening is that Geodude's defense is so high and my Poison Sting is so weak that damage calculates down to 0. And for some reason Gen 1 reads that as a miss. So I'm so weak that I'm doing 0 damage, or what might be less than 0, I don't know. So the game instead counts it as a miss, as if we needed one more thing to make this battle any more ridiculous. So I either need to be at a high enough level for my Poison Stings to at least do 1 damage, no matter how high Geodude's defense gets, or I have to hope he doesn't use Defense Curl too much after he has been poisoned for the 6th time and won't heal it. What the fuck? Oh, and remember that whole train on the first Pokemon strategy for more experience? Well, that's not really effective at this point because we can't beat Geodude consistently. So to spare you guys the absolute hell that was this part of the run, I'm just gonna show you the Brock fights at each new level until we beat him, starting at level 22. I would normally commentate over these, but you know the drill. We're essentially just doing attempts until either our level is high enough or RNG decides to end my suffering. Even at level 24, I can't consistently beat the Geodude, so I'm stuck training in Viridian. And I'm sure some of you are going to ask why I don't just potion spam. You have to remember that I don't have a lot of potions, but there's so much more to it than that. I only have 35 power points with Poison Sting, so I would eventually run out. I can't just waste all of my string shots because then I would get hit with Bide. And the struggle bides would be so much worse than the Poison Sting bides. Even if it was possible, I feel like if I'm gonna spend a ton of time, I'd rather be working towards making my Weedle stronger instead of hoping for a miracle RNG run. But I will say, if I had known about the whole Poison Sting 0 damage thing, I would have never fully beaten that junior trainer. I would have just used String Shot until Sandshrew killed me and then grinded on the Diglett, but unfortunately I didn't know that at the time. Anyway, at level 25 we finally have our miracle attempt. Not really a miracle, but we were at a high enough level to have a real chance at winning, and it finally happened. We finally beat Brock, but I did use a couple potions for safety. With the first badge finally on my vest, I'm gonna call that a successful episode 1. I'm going to be releasing these episodes weekly until the run is complete. I'm thinking it'll be about 6 or 7 episodes, but it's hard to predict. If you like this type of content, I have a metronome only run and a solo Charmander run uploaded on my channel as well, and if you like this video, please consider supporting the channel. A thumbs up, a subscribe, share on social media, it would all mean the world to me. Thank you for watching and see you next week for episode 2. Peace.